lanes. So a carrier would love to hear that because a dedicated lane is almost like guaranteed money. So
Okay.
they hear that because what dedicated means is they're always picking up from a shipper, in most cases the same shipper, and they're always delivering, well, not always delivering to the same receiver, but delivering to a receiver. It could be the same receiver in that line haul, or it could be a different receiver, but you're picking up from the same shipper. So that's a dedicated run, a dedicated lane. So they always know where they're picking up from. They may or may not know where they are delivering to, but they always know where they're getting the freight from. So they can just make their way back to the shipper to get another load. Then as a dispatcher, your role would be to focus on getting them backhaul from where they delivered to back to where they picked up from. So, follow that?
Yes.
Okay. So you've been on the phone with a carrier who's asked that question as far as are you a broker? Have you gotten that response?
Yes, I got that response on Wednesday.
And how did you handle it?
I said, no, I'm not a broker. I'm a dispatcher.
Okay. And then where did the conversation go from there? Did it continue? Did it progress, or did it end abruptly, or?
It progressed, and then they asked me to send them my dispatcher's agreement, but I haven't heard from them back. I touched bases with them. They're like, they're stuck at receivers in the long line, and they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Oh, that'd be a good one to try to find a load for. And that was since Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have followed up with them on maybe Friday and see if they've gotten something. Because if they haven't gotten anything by now, they definitely need some help. If they haven't gotten anything by now, it's Sunday, and that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 4 days ago. They probably either deadheaded.
I'm sorry. I did touch bases with them on Friday. They were at the receiver, and they were stuck in line. They didn't know when they were going to be unloaded.
Okay, so that's on Friday.
Yes.
So it's a good chance that they're still at the receiver. They've already gotten unloaded. They may be doing their reset to reset their hours, and they may be looking for something starting out tomorrow or Monday for a fresh week. So if I were in your situation, I probably would reach back out to them and see if they've gotten anything for Monday or whenever they want to go out again. And if they haven't, offer your service, but also to remind them that I sent you a, hey sir or ma'am, I sent you a dispatcher agreement and profile sheet. If you want to work with me, can you please fill that out as well and return it? And so we can start trying to get you moving more consistently. And then see what they, because if they're the type of person that's stuck all the time, I don't want to say they're not sure of how. I don't know if they are new carriers or if they're experienced carriers or have had their MC authority for a while. They just happen to be stuck on this particular load. You know, I'm not sure of their specific situation, but we want to see if we can provide. If that's in other words, that's an opportunity right there to provide some type of service to them from a dispatcher's perspective. Because while they're sitting at the receiver, we could be behind the scenes looking for something for them. Now, what equipment type were they?
Flatbeds. There was, I think he was a reefer. The one that I was asking if I was a broker, he was a reefer.
Okay, and where was he located at the receiving? Do you remember the city and state or where they were?
They were in Florida.
Okay. They were in Florida with a reefer. Do you remember the? So how did you come across them? Did you were you on Trucker's Path looking for them, or?
Yes, and he was
Okay.
in
And
Ocala, Ocala.
yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Yep. And he was a reefer. So let's see. So there's 225 loads leaving from Ocala within a 100-mile deadhead radius out of, and 225. So I'm gonna put this in order. It's grouped by tens now. I'm gonna put it like 100 because it's 225, so we can see more. So depending on where that person wants to go, or I'm assuming they probably at least want to get out of Florida so they can try to make some money elsewhere. So I got one that lift. There's one for today. Today is the 22nd, Sunday. So they may be open. This broker may be open over the weekend. Or they're offline, but there's a load posted for today and delivers tomorrow. So tomorrow's the 23rd. 40,000 pounds. 53-foot reefer. I don't know if it's a one-on-one. We would have to contact the broker, but it's over $2 a mile. So 1,600 at 786, which is practical miles. I don't know what the actual mile. We would have to ask the broker what are the actual or the loaded miles. When you talk to a broker, what are the loaded miles? In other words, from the time that the load is picked up from the shipper to the time it's delivered to the receiver. That's the loaded miles. So it's 204 right now if you round up. But if the actual or loaded miles, which doesn't show right here, is not listed, that'll be a question that you can ask them, because sometimes it's more than the practical, sometimes it's less. So this is probably a city to city, not necessarily a zip to zip. A zip to zip is more actual or loaded miles because it's giving you the zip code, the city and zip code of where the shipper is located, and the city and zip code of where the receiver is located when they deliver. So that's actual or loaded miles. This could be practical. The actual city of Lithia, Florida, the outer limits of the city, and the outer limits or the inner limits of Salem, Virginia. So I'm not sure if that person, that reefer carrier, is still in Ocala, Florida, or not. We could probably give him a call and see have he found a load coming out of Florida or not. He's probably doing his reset. Who knows, right? But here's another one. Lee's picking up today also. Leesburg, Florida, which is 31 miles. It's less deadhead to Leesburg than it is Lithia.
Okay.
Right? That one's a shorter deadhead. It's less than probably a 30-minute drive to pick it up. If the broker's available today, it's posted for today, but the broker may have left that on and not removed it from the load board, and it's supposed to pick up early today, so it should have already be gone. This load may already be gone in this case. It's picked up today early. It may already be covered. So when you see loads like this that looks like they're okay, it may already be covered. The broker just hasn't updated their system to take it off the load board. So it's, so they're off for the weekend. They're off, so they may come back in on Monday and, oh man, I forgot to take that load down, and they'll take it down because he may have like 6 or 7 missed calls from carriers or dispatchers calling them over the weekend trying to get that weekend load. So that situation, because they're offline, if you notice here, they're offline.
Right.
But that's a shorter deadhead from Ocala than the other, and it's going to Louisiana, and it's that's less than $2 a mile though. That's like That's like $1.90 something if we do the mathematics on that one. $12.50. We probably can try to get that up depending on how many stops it is, because it is a reefer load. So depending on how many stops it is, because as you know, reefer loads have the potential to have more than one pickup and more than one delivery. So, and that's where the negotiation come in at. So it's like $1.90 something $1.91. So if he wants something short just to get him out of Florida to Louisiana, then he can find something otherwise. That would have been a good load, but he would have tried to catch that on Friday when, booked that over the weekend, so that would have been ready. I'm just trying to find loads that are over $2 or better. Like this one here, this is, okay, so this picks up Tuesday, this one here, and it's 60 miles deadhead from Ocala. So if your guy or girl, I don't know what gender that carrier was, is still in Ocala, they can drive 60 miles and pick this load up on Monday. It don't leave out till Tuesday, so he still has time. You see? And they can go to Tennessee, which is $582. So $1,200 at $582 is $206. So that's over. So now, depending on how many picks and drops and stuff like that, there's not a lot of information in the load details of the load. So there again is where you would talk to the brokers and get as much load details of the load as possible for your carrier. So when you inform your carrier, they can make a decision based off of that information whether they can take that load or not. So that's part of the process of dispatching as well.
Okay.
And here's another one.
Right.
This one's in Lake City, Florida, which is 75 miles, but it's staying in Florida. It's paying $1,000 and is only going 315. Now, if they want to stay in Florida, they're taking a chance, right?
Right.
Is 1,000 at 315 miles. That's over $3 a mile. Well, let me do the math again. $317 a mile, but they're staying in Florida, and they're 75 miles. So let's look at this one. Let's see how far down the map it's going from Ocala to, what was that one? Let me get these other ones off of here. Lake City. So your guy was in Ocala, Florida. Let's bring up Google. So it depends on how far you want to go down. And let's see what direction is it. Is it going further down or is it going north, heading out of Florida? So it's heading north. So that's good. So,
okay.
But that's just to pick up. It's picking up in Lake Cities, right? So he's in Ocala. He's going north to pick it up towards like Tallahassee or Jacksonville, right? So he's picking it up there, but he's taking it to Royal Palm, Florida. So he may be going back down 300. So he's going up 75 miles to go back down 315. So let's see if that's the case. So he's going from Lake City to Royal Palm, that load. See, so he's going, now he's picking, he went north 75 miles and then he's going back down south to, like down by Fort Lauderdale, Miami. So he's, you see, but he's making $1,000, almost $3 a mile, but he's staying in Florida. He may or may not want to get out of Florida. So this is a 300-mile, that's only 300 miles from there to there. I thought Florida was larger distance-wise, but it's not. So that's here to here is 315 miles. So those are some of the things to consider. But I'm not sure if your guy is still in Ocala or not. If he's still looking for a load, if you wanted to reach out to him, do you have his contact information or?
Yes, I should have his contact information.
Yeah, you can see are you still looking for something? Did you find anything? Even if you found something, you can say, okay, well, when will you be empty? Or where are you going to end up at? And he'll say, well, I'm going to be in Atlanta, or I'm going to be in what's a good place in Atlanta? There's a distribution center.
Philo?
In the southern Tifton.
Yeah.
Like there's a distribution center down there in Tifton, Georgia. There's a right as soon as you get out of Florida, you cross over the border, you like over there by Valdosta and all that right there in Tifton. There should be one in distribution centers over there. So immediately when you come out of there, because Atlanta's way up here. So here's Atlanta, so that's kind of further. So, but when you can pick up something in Tifton, or you can go over to Alabama, Louisiana, you know, things like that. So, but to circle back around to your point of handling what to say when the carrier asks you, are you a broker? You just pretty much, of course, you want to be honest. You're not going to lie to them. They're going to find out anyway. But you just say, no, I'm an independent dispatcher. I work with carriers. I help find loads. You know, however you feel your technique will work best for you when you are trying to convince them that you can help them with their loads. So I think it worked for you because you got that person to say, send me a dispatch agreement.
Okay.
Right? So,
right.
So what else did you, that was the main thing when you was watching the videos that you were curious about?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, Gigi's asking a question here. Comment. Oh, Gigi says she can't hear. Let me add a comment. She has to either unmute her mic or log out, log back in. Let me put this in here. Unmute your mic or increase your sound or log out and back in. I'm not sure. Everybody else seems to be okay. Can everybody else hear me? I'm sure everyone else can hear me. I know Robert can hear me, Allison, and Miss Ruth. There we go. Can you hear me now, Miss Gigi? Let's see what the comment. Okay, she just said okay. And then Robert. Let me get some feedback from you, Robert. Titanium LLC. Titanium 2 LLC. Want to get Robert's take on what's going on out here as far as the Corona and what the carriers are doing, because he's currently he drives, so. Can you unmute yourself, Robert? I'm not sure. You're probably on the road, probably driving right now. Just wanted to ask one quick question to you. And while I'm waiting on Robert, so what else did you have in the videos, Miss Ruth? You had any other questions? Okay, I hear someone now. Robert can't unmute himself. I'm going to, while I'm waiting on Robert to unmute himself, I'm going to go to a carrier And if Miss Ruth, if you had anything else you want to mention, if you had any other questions about the videos you were watching. Well, I call this carrier here, do a carrier call. Hey, Doc.
What's up, Chief?
Yeah.
I was trying to unmute, but I have difficult problems or something over there.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious to see what's going on out there from your perspective. I know you're driving and stuff. As far as the coronavirus and loads and things like that, have you noticed? I'm sure there's some different behavior out here, but I just wanted to get your perspective on it.
Yeah. It's well, they got the government thing or whatever, the FMCSA teamed up with the government or something, essential. They got some kind of essential paperwork out or agreement that the people that need to move around or whatever, they have to have like this pass or this agreement or whatever.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, being able to tank the division, hauling gas and everything, we've got we say a pass or whatever.
Okay.
And also supposed to be helping out with some of the I don't know, it's some kind of food grade or something like that.
Okay.
That companies are needing as far as where I have my contract that they're thinking about putting me on. Well, I was supposed to be doing it Friday, but I had to go pick my son up Saturday morning.
Okay.
And it's taking like I guess it's some kind of food grade, some fat or something. I don't know, something oil or something up to Allentown, PA.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, from Ellen.
So the FMCSA, so I know some states are shutting down as far as the government is concerned, and they're sending people home, like California, Washington State, Illinois, Jersey, New York, of course. So it seems like it's heading towards martial law, in my opinion. But
yeah, exactly.
But
not really calling that, but it's a form.
Right. So the states that are shutting down are the ones who's probably going to need the essentials more so than the ones who have not shut down yet. So the freight probably is going to be moving to like the stores and the gas stations for the fuel in those states, and then people are still allowed to come out just for essentials and then like show receipts of having gone to the store or going to the gas station without getting into any kind of trouble or whatnot. So, but there will be no like free loitering out while this pandemic is spreading. So, but so I just wanted to, so I just wanted to get your take on it, and so that's interesting.
Yeah, matter of fact, I picked my son up from his college and made a stop to get something to eat, and one of the cashiers was like, "Hey, have you heard that at this other college in the area that a girl had the what do you want to call it, Corona-19, whatever it is, whatever it is, in her college?" I was like, "Really? I haven't heard anything." And my son didn't hear anything also, and he's about maybe 45 minutes away from the other college, so, like, wow, really?
Yeah, it's getting close to home. So that's in where? That's in like St. Louis area or?
Columbia, Missouri area.
Okay.
Which is, St. Louis area, which is about 2 hours away from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Going west.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So I anticipated being maybe to like maybe mid-April when the weather gets warmer. Viruses tend to dissipate, get out of people's systems as the seasons change. They sit a little dormant in what's called, we are the carriers of the virus. Hosts we host, the virus, they lay up in us and lay dormant and spread and stuff and contaminate other people. And they do that. They're more prevalent in colder weather. So as it gets warmer, it tends to kind of dissipate. So I think that's what the government is anticipating. They just didn't expect all these cases and even deaths in certain states. So it's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we just gotta prepare for it. So from
Moderna's been around for a while, anyways. You look on the back of the Lysol bottle, I guess. The things that it helps to alleviate. For mine, I haven't seen it, but that's what they say. It's on it. Coronavirus is on there.
Really?
On that back label.
On the Lysol?
On the light, yeah. So I haven't seen it myself.
Wow.
That's what they were saying.
Let me see.
You grab a bottle of Lysol.
That's what I'm ready to do right now. Let me see. Oh, I don't have Lysol. I got Pine Sol. My wife got some generic stuff in here, generic Pine Sol and Lysol. So it's saying that's one of the ones that helps. Really?
We're sorry, but some participants may be experiencing temporary audio issues. Our teams are working to resolve this as quickly as possible.
I'm looking at the Pine Sol, so if you can see my screen. Trying to see if it mentions anything about any. I'm sure it says it protects against viruses and stuff like that. It's an eye irritant. So I didn't see it on Pine Sol. I'll double check it a little bit more thoroughly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, look at those labels too. I mean, it's a good thing to look at those labels for shippers too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, I wanted to ask you something though. On that note, when you finding your carrier, is it a good idea to I don't know if you do it or not. If it's on your information form or what, as far as getting a copy of the driver's license front and back and DOT card.
I don't do that. I haven't come across a need for it. I got enough information on the dispatcher agreement to have that carrier covered, but if it may come a time where there maybe a need for it, especially if you're going to be dealing with government shippers, then they may need to identify. But that's the whole purpose of the TWIC card and the Rapid Gate and stuff like that too. So, to have a copy of their I do have a copy of one of my carriers' cab card. When he went over to California, there's like some kind of in other states too. There's like an emissions control, controlling the smoke and emissions going in certain states. You have to be registered, like a cab card kind of thing. So, but yeah, I haven't gotten copies of a driver's license front and back. Is there a reason that you asked that question?
No, I'm just wondering, as far as the package goes, the package, the carrier package, I was just wondering if it'd be a good idea to.
I see what you're saying. So when you book loads with certain brokers, that may be a requirement for that broker at that time, because that could be a requirement for their shipper on that particular load that they're trying to book you for. So it depends on the requirement of their customer, who is the shipper. You may have to get a copy of the carrier's picture ID. At least the driver. So if you got a truck, if you're dispatching for a trucking company and they have different company drivers, they will probably want to know who is they usually ask for the driver's first and last name, their cell number, and their truck and trailer number. Now, it may come to a point where they're going to start asking for photo IDs. I'm not sure if it's prevalent enough at this point to do so, but I see what you're saying now. So it depends on the requirements of that broker's customer, who is the shipper. Then if that broker's customer requires that and we want that load, now if they require something like that, chances are that tells me that may be a good paying load. Because if they're trying to get all that detailed information, they want to make sure that we have a picture of this driver under our $10,000 load or under our $100,000 load, whatever it is. So, you know, now it could be, now if you're doing it like an OD, over-dimensional or wide load, and you got pilot cars and, you know, a trailer in the truck and things like that, that's a different beast. So, but yeah. It depends on the broker. It depends on the It depends on the requirements of the broker, or the requirements of the customer of the broker. So, Gigi says she can hear now. Welcome, Gigi. Hope can you?
I'm gonna try to tune in here so I can listen in and everything. You know.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. All right, Gigi. Are you able to unmute yourself, Gigi?
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are y'all doing?
All right. And what? Let's see. Are you a guest or you a member?
Member.
Okay. What questions? Do you have anything you want to ask?
Not at this moment. I was just trying to listen. Unfortunately, I missed what y'all were saying because I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, we were just going over some like COVID-19 coronavirus issues, not issues, but information as it relates to the industry, the dispatcher and carriers perspective. How can we? Because even though this virus is going around, we still have carriers are needed because goods still need to get to those essentials locations, like the fuel needs to get to the gas stations, and
right.
Essential supplies like toiletries and soap and soups and food still need to get to the grocery stores, because when this news initially broke, everyone flocked to the grocery stores, and now all the cupboards are bare. So how are they going to be restocked? Because this is going to last a little bit longer than anticipated, maybe a month, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So in that time frame, people are still going to need toiletries, water, perishable, non-perishable goods. So from a dispatcher's and a carrier's perspective, we just have to kind of restructure our strategies on how we can implement getting those loads from the brokers and targeting those areas where those states are shut down to get carriers to those states, because especially the states that are shut down, like California, Illinois, Jersey, New York, what else? Washington State. The list is growing. I don't want to say exponentially, but it's growing gradually. Governors are following suit with California, Washington State, and then so on and so forth as they shut down. I just got off the phone with one of my sub-dispatchers. She's in California, LaWanda, and she asked me, she said, is the military over in Virginia where you at? I said, no. She said, they're out here. I think she meant the National Guard. So they have the military boots on the ground over there in California. I guess they're monitoring to make sure that people follow the mandates of the governor over there when they shut down the businesses in the states. So sounds like martial law to me, but I don't want to go that far with it. But
right.
But
okay.
We do have to protect ourselves, social distancing and things like that. But from a dispatchers, we can work from home, and the carriers will be out there. Hopefully they'll protect themselves with the rubber gloves and the masks on as they're delivering the freight to certain areas. If you just prepare yourself, loads can still get to those areas, and loads are actually still needed in those areas. So now, again, as dispatchers, we just have to come up with other strategies, get with brokers and communicate, say, okay, let's focus on Mr. Broker or Mrs. Broker. Let's focus on these states that need, well, all the states need the essentials, but the ones that got shut down first, let's get them taken care of. So as the other ones shut down, at least the ones who are already shut down, they're already covered as far as us getting essentials to them with our carriers.
So let me ask a question real quick. So I don't know if I missed it, if y'all spoke about it. So are you seeing issues with the states that are closed down, trucks coming in there?
I am not, because I spoke to LaWanda, and they said that you're still allowed to go to the grocery stores and the gas stations. It's going to get to a point where you just got to show, like if you go to the grocery store, you got to show the receipt of being as proof of going to the grocery store. You just can't go out and just loiter. You got to go out to your essentials area and then come back home, because they don't want you out in the public that much, because that state, like other states, California, that have been shut down, is basically the reason is because the cases of coronavirus is more prevalent. They're growing out there. So why keep allowing people to be out in the public and exposing more people to it as opposed to shutting the state down? You see what I'm saying? So,
right. Okay.
But she said that they still allow you to go out to the stores, get your essentials, and then come home, because they want you to kind of like self-quarantine and isolate yourself. So as they address the ones who are infected and quarantine them and get them treated, the ones with the stronger immune systems, the ones with a weak immune system, they're addressing them more seriously, because they have the potential of passing away because their immune system is weak, especially the elderly, those in the nursing homes, or people who have certain respiratory illnesses and things like that. But the state of California, you can still go out and get your fuel and get your essentials, and then come back home and then try to ride this virus wave out. So, but she did say that the military is on the ground, National Guards and things like that. So, any other comments on that?
No, I just want to make sure I didn't miss, because my concern today, what I normally just get on Wednesdays, but because I work for the county, I've been one of those, and I'm putting air quotes, essential workers that had to still go to work while my kids were at home. And so I haven't really been dealing with this part of it, because I've been trying to get the household together. And I didn't know if y'all were putting something out that I needed to know about, as far as when I actually got my logo done. So I'm going to put that on my paperwork so I can actually get started.
Okay. What state are you in?
Florida.
Okay. So I don't, that's crazy, because there were still college students down there at spring break on the beaches down there in Florida. That amazes me. We got a pandemic all over the country, and you got people out there halfway naked on the beaches at spring break. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
No, it doesn't make any sense. But this governor who's on TV right now hasn't made a definitive decision on what to do. He's putting out information. They closed the schools down while they were on spring break. Their last day was Friday the 16th of March, I think it was, whatever that Friday was. And so they were getting ready to go on spring break anyway. And I think that same days of their last day, they mentioned that they weren't going to go back to school until the 30th. And then they changed it to April 15th. And he still hasn't closed. Now, see, my government office is closed down to the public as of Friday, but they still are having us go to work. And I can work from home, but I'm considered essential, so I actually have to show up to work.
So I think I'm of the opinion that if you have to go to work in this condition of a pandemic, then you should be getting hazardous pay.
Yeah, that would be a benefit. That would be nice, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Right, because the reason why I say that is because you're putting yourself at risk. So
and my children.
And your children, right? Because if you get exposed and you go home, then you're going to have a chance to expose your kids. So if your company is that insensitive enough to still require you to go to work, even after this is a national pandemic, then what does that say about the company? That they only care. They only care about the bottom line. Right.
They wait. So, if this governor turns around and says he's going to shut down Florida, then that'll be a different story. But because he hasn't said that, he just closed bars and restaurants, and these people now, unfortunately, have to stay at home. They didn't have the choice. their companies didn't shut down willingly. They shut down because they had to. But to a certain extent, they're still open because you can get takeout. You can order the food and go and pick it up. And every time you go, I mean, Publix line was long. You can't find anything in Walmart or Sam's Club. Fortunate for me, I had wind up getting wipes and toilet papers before they started this a couple of weeks ago. So I have that. But to get sanitizer and just food in general, luckily I'm pretty much plant-based, so that's not too hard. But then once people started realizing there was no more canned food, they started buying up all the produce, which is normally stocked. So I'm just waiting for him to mention that he's going to shut down Florida, because now I have to homeschool the kids.
Right. So now from a dispatcher's perspective, now we have to think, okay, those shelves have to be replenished. So now I'm assuming that brokers and shippers are kind of aligning themselves in that same mindset too. That let's target those states first that's been shut down, that not really shut down, but their movement is limited, I should say. Not completely shut down, but their movement is more limited than other states, like California, like the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, those states, Washington State. So as dispatchers, if we can possibly get a hold of brokers who are, if they're smart, they will start targeting, getting their shippers to say, let's get these loads over to these states, and then let's get carriers that are willing to. Now, of course, you're going to have to pay those carriers more, because it's getting into the realm of what carrier is going to say, okay, I'm not going in that state. That could, it's contaminated. I can get corona. Well, instead of 2,000 miles, we'll give you 4. So.
And that hasn't happened yet on the load boards, correct? You haven't seen it in.
I have not seen it, but I'm sure at some point, if this gets worse before it gets better, and the need for food becomes greater than what it is now, to the point where people start looting people's houses to get food that they didn't have time to get before, then it may change the landscape. Hopefully it's nothing out of Walking Dead or what's that, the Purge movie. It won't turn into nothing like that, where they just
here in Florida, the increase in gun sales has went up.
That's across the board. Now that thing that I have saw, that is so, because people are fearing that result. Like, people may try to rob them because I got more food than you. You just didn't utilize your time correctly. You thought this was a joke. Then all of a sudden, now there's a shortage of food, and the grocery stores don't have anything. Now I got to go rob people that I saw buy food, but I got a gun in my house. You come in here, you're going back out backwards. So
right, and there was a trailer stolen that when they I guess the person had a traffic violation. That's the reason why they was following them, and they pulled it over. And I'm not sure where it was at. I had caught the end of it, that it was loaded with toilet paper and paper towels.
You see, so it seems like we are, now certain states and certain people and certain individuals, we are proactive, but the country as a whole seems more of a reactionary type of country. We react after something happens, as opposed to getting the information and being proactive and properly preparing for something, right? So across the board, we're more reactionary as opposed to proactive. Now, us as individuals, those of us who really think about this, okay, we might want to get everything we need because this is coming down the pipeline. Let's get prepared. Let's get ahead of this, and then go from there. But my job is as a dispatch trainer, I want to see if I can see what brokers that I know of I can reach out to and try to align our carriers up with the freight that's going to those states that we need to supply with them. Robert says, come stand in line. I think he said, come stand in line. I'm not sure what you were saying, Robert. So let's see what Robert, what else?
Go out laying down. Stand and go out laying down. True.
Yeah, we got go out laying down. Yeah, we got we're prepared. Let's hope that does not happen, that people have enough sense not to again, we live in a reactionary country, but people doesn't have enough sense to have that mindset to try to go inside of people's house unwillingly or illegally and try to take something from someone that doesn't belong to them. And then I'm also noticing too on the news you have these white supremacist Aryan groups that are preparing for whatever. I don't know what they're preparing for, because they're just as involved in this coronavirus as anyone else. But you know, I really don't pay them that much attention. I think they're a joke. But it says something if the national news is airing what they're doing, you know. So, but at any rate, we have
the different people. I'm sorry, the different people that are on this live stream right now. Are they seeing the same thing when it comes to their shelves and the sanitizer and water and just food itself?
Well, let's ask them. Anyone else want to comment on that? Well, Miss Gigi just asked a question. In your locations, guys, if anyone wants to comment on that, she's asking, are you guys seeing the shelves being bare at your Walmarts, your Sam's Club, Costco's, any of your large grocery store chains or your dollar stores? Does anyone want to comment on that? How is it looking in your area as far as this?
Oh, yes, definitely so. All shelves empty. This is
Miss Allison. Okay. So all your Walmarts, your Sam's Club, Costco's, your local grocery stores, the Kroger's or whatever.
Everything. The only thing is Winco say they restock every night. So if you get there first thing in the morning, they'll take their elderlies first, and then they take 10 or 20 at a time. So you will have some luck at Winco.
Okay. What state are you, Miss Allison?
Oh, Texas.
You're in Texas. Okay. And see, so that's a big state. So that's a large state, a lot of people over there. So, anyone else having? I'm sure a lot of people across the country are having issues with, especially the essentials like the toilet papers, the soaps, and then the water. Water's the main thing. Maybe even bread. I don't eat as much bread as I used to, but water, of course, everyone needs water. I'm not drinking tap water. Unless I have a filter or something like that, and you know, water, bread, soap, toiletries, but again, how do we, what strategies are we preparing ourselves from a transportation perspective? Because the truck drivers are going to be relied upon more so in this time than they have in months or years, because it seems that our carriers are not being given the respect that they deserve, because they are the backbone of the country. And with this pandemic, that should be a realization for the country now, especially from the shippers and brokers. They should start seeing, okay, if the carriers say, okay, I'm not moving nothing and just shut down, can you imagine what the country would be like? So go ahead, someone was going to comment? Miss Rose?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You hear me?
I can hear you now. Hey.
Okay. I wasn't sure I was on. I was trying to make sure I made no noise.
No, you good.
I don't have no comment. I just got in. I just want to listen. How you doing?
Okay. We're okay. We're just we're speaking about the COVID-19, the coronavirus, also as it relates to the transportation industry, and what are the strategies as dispatchers and our carriers? What can we use or do to get in front of this to keep those stores and areas stocked with all the freight that needs to get across the country? And we also asked the question, like, in your particular area, how dry or how empty those shelves are in your grocery stores and dollar stores and things like that. Oh, I thought she was going to comment. All right, we have some more. I did a little roll call. Mr. Nelson?
You're fading out a little bit.
No, there she go.
Yeah, can you hear me? You fading out a little bit on me. I heard part of it.
I was asking you, Miss Rose, in your specific area. I don't know what state you live in.
Alabama.
Alabama. So, how is it looking in your area as far as the like the grocery stores? Are the cabinets bare like other places around the country?
To be honest with you, Charles, I haven't been out there because I have a young one at home. She have allergies and pollen pollen, so my husband said it's looking kind of rough out there.
Yeah. And Mike just made a good point, which is, now this comment Mike just made says a lot about some of these brokers out here. Mike just said that these brokers are still trying to charge crazy rates to the carriers, even under these extreme circumstances. They're trying to underpay the drivers in a time like this. So we need to, if we do come across brokers and see those types of pay and on those lows, we need to make a note of that as a network and try to phase out those brokers, because that's kind of heartless in my opinion. They still trying to keep all that money, instead of giving that money more so to the carriers and taking it out of their pocket, give it to the carriers, because the shipper is going to pay what they're going to pay. The broker is going to take their cut. But instead of taking more of a cut, take less of a cut and give more of the money to the carrier, especially in a time like this, especially. So that tells me how heartless and careless some of these brokers are. This is a good time to ask for more. This is a good time not only to ask for more, but this is a good time that carriers should just get more without even having to ask, because the country's in a situation where it's needed. If, like we just asked a question across the board, every person's location, the state that they're in, how is it looking out there as far as supplies? And mostly everyone said that their stores are bare, that they need to be replenished during this time and stuff like that. So now, as dispatchers, I'm going to personally myself, as I come across brokers, make a note of which ones are like charging or trying to keep most of the money as opposed to giving the money to the carriers, and make a note of that. So, and I think I recommend you guys do the same. But that's heartless, honestly. You know, no good can come from that whatsoever. How you doing, Mr. Nelson?
I'm doing good, Charles. Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Well, the carriers are available. They're out there. And what's happening is I don't know if you can remember, but back in the 80s, we went to that almost just-in-time delivery aspect of the industry, to where the warehouses weren't full capacity all the time. It was more or less like a cross-dock situation.
Yep.
Well, that's where we still are. And
wow.
So the freight's out there, the carriers out there. Then you run into a situation with the epidemic where, the staffing is not there in the warehouses. So the drivers are having to go out there and sit 3, 4, 5 hours to get a load of something to get moved. And a lot of times the drivers don't want to do that. They're not getting attention paid. The shippers are paying. The brokers are just not offering it, but the shippers are paying.
Right. So the disconnect is at the broker level, it seems.
More or less, the disconnect is at the broker level, and also what's happening is, like I say, when it comes to the warehouse industry, because there are so many humongous warehouses and distribution centers within these metropolitan areas now, is that even their staffs are thin because they're more competitive. So, it's not a situation where you're going to have a warehouse with 150 people working in it, because you've got 75 warehouses. Now you're going to have a warehouse with 35 people working in it. So therefore, you don't have enough people to even load or unload the product that comes in and moves.
Right. So it's a personnel issue as well.
It's also a personnel issue, and at the same time, a lot of people are afraid to go to work. A lot of people don't want to be out because they don't want to get sick, or they don't want to catch this virus and find themselves in a bad situation.
Right. So there's a myriad of facets that's involved in this transportation situation at this point in time with this virus situation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Gigi said, very true, Mr. Nelson. That's what Gigi said. Yep.
And I think one of the things that would also remedy that, though, that too, is because I was a guardsman for years, and whenever situations arose, we were enacted to go into situations. But the thing about it is, you have enough people in the militaries too, which if they're given order and moved into location, that they can also work in these warehouses and distribution centers, and that would up their employment status. Therefore, you get more product moved also.
Yes. Now I wonder when and where will FEMA become involved in the situation?
Well, to be honest with you, FEMA should have already been involved in it. FEMA should have been involved with it from the start, because it is a national disaster, regardless of how you look at it. It's a pandemic, but it's still a national disaster, and
right.
FEMA should have already been involved.
Right. So now, whose responsibility or fault or should that fall upon? And I'm not really looking to badger anyone. I'm just saying that, I agree with you, Mr. Nelson, that FEMA should have been involved in. Now, if you notice over in Italy, I saw a lot of large army vehicles carrying coffins through the streets in Italy, because there was a lot of people over there dying. So I'm like, and I know for a fact that FEMA has those types of coffins over here in the States, like warehoused in certain locations, undisclosed locations. But I know people who know people, so I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's crazy. But yeah, FEMA should have been involved in it. I don't know what role the government plays or doesn't play in that, but it is a government agency, so Federal Emergency Management. So, but circling back to a dispatcher carrier's perspective, I mean, it's like, well, what strategies, if any, can we use to try to get involved in the lanes that those stores need to be restocked under? Like, pretty much every store, it doesn't matter the lane, because all the stores are empty. If we just took a gross overall poll of every city that everybody's listening to this call is in, and they're saying the same thing. Our cabinets are bare. We need to be restocked because, so we just got to figure that out, get with the brokers and the shippers. So.
Okay, once again, we go back to personnel at these warehouse and distribution centers. I mean, it's essential that people can go to work, and of course, in various parts of the nation, the government has told everybody to stay home.
Right. And so the ones who do go to work, are they? I mean, what incentives are they getting? Are they getting hazard pay? Are they getting double time because the risk is greater? Just like being in the military, if you're over in a foreign country, you get hazard pay. Right. So does that apply? To that. So
it should apply, but in a lot of times in situations, like I say, in the warehouse and distribution, now your workforce maybe has been 50, it's down to 25 to 15 or 20 to 30. So now you're asking people to do triple the work, but yet again, at the same time, you can only move so much product at a time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And then we manufacture a lot of things in the Midwest. So therefore, too, when it comes to food safety and things such as that, you still deal with the same issue, as far as personnel. If you can't get it manufactured, you can't get it moved.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like it's a quagmire, I guess. It's a smorgasbord of issues. And I don't know. Miss Gigi just said she just received an alert from EOC here in Florida that they are asking residents in certain counties to limit water usage due to lack of rain. Should we try to find water loads? Interesting. So And I'm not sure if it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm just trying to think of strategies and get feedback from the network as well of different strategies or what role can we play in assisting in this pandemic as far as our carriers concerned, getting lined up with loads to get that freight to those areas, well, all areas, at this point, because as the days go on and on, each day goes on, another state may have a government shutdown, or the governor says the state is shut down, more residents please stay at home unless it's essentials, go out for that. So any other comments? Mike says it will get worse, Charles. I'm leaning toward that, Mike. I kind of agree with you. I'm hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. But I'm thinking hopefully as the weather gets a little bit more warmer, the viruses are not as dormant in hotter weather than they are cold. And then I'm still of the mindset that this is, and I could be wrong with this comment coming up, but this is a man-made thing, virus. And, I usually don't want to go there, but, it just, all of a sudden it just came out of nowhere. I know they're saying that people over in China was eating bats, and then it got spread over in the Wuhan province over in China, and then people caught a plane, it came over to Spain and Paris, and then, it got to the States. So just a lot of suspicious activity that got the ball rolling with the corona, but be that as it may, it's here. So
I think it's biological, Charles, myself.
So, and that's another person said that too. It could be an act of biological terrorism from North Korea. They may have attacked China and then figured, okay, China has more people than any country or any, in the world, so they can spread it there and then it'll just get out. So, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, new world order type of opinions about it, but it's here. How it got here, I guess, at this point is irrelevant. How we get rid of it is probably more relevant than how it got here. So, but it does sound like it's biological. Well, it's proven itself more biological than anything else. So, I tend to agree with you more so, Mr. Nelson. But I just want to see how what role can we play in assisting, if any, if we can, if our movement will not be limited. Mike says we all hoping for the best, but we have to be real with ourselves. I agree. That's why we are preparing. We are making the necessary precautions. See, we got a small collective of people who are proactive in the sense that they, we get our essentials, we stock up on things that we need, anticipating how long we're going to have to stay in our homes, even possibly preparing for martial law. You have other people, an overall glossing of the country, who are more reactionary, and they just react based on when it comes, as opposed to hearing about it and then preparing. So, yeah. But if we have an opportunity to assist in our field that we're currently in as dispatchers with our carriers, then maybe we can provide some level of certainty. So Gigi says she started her seed. I started my seeds for the garden. So you're growing your vegetables naturally in your yard and producing your own food. Smart. Less processed food and more natural foods. So, Robert says on the back of the Clorox disinfectant wipe, it states helps fight human coronavirus, influenza A2 virus. Interesting. So the back of the Clorox disinfectant wipe. So it even mentions it. So I need to stock up on some more Clorox disinfectant wipes. So I would rather have something and not need it than to need it and not have it. So Mike's basement is starting to look like a storage bunker. Yeah. So I'm just trying to see what role will we be able to play if we have an opportunity to from a dispatching perspective. So we can get our carriers to those areas, and I'm going to reach out to some of the brokers that I have relationships with and see what they are saying and what strategies they may be implementing, like contingency that they may be implementing, and then by Wednesday I should have some feedback for you guys on that level to see is the transporting of goods kind of the same? I would think it's a little bit different because the situation in the country is changing and it's different. So let's see what these brokers, what strategies that they're implementing, and how are we able to get involved in that change in those strategies as dispatchers with our carriers, and see if the brokers are willing to work with us as a team, and give the carriers the rates that they deserve, especially in this day and time. So, and if you guys know of any brokers that you feel that you got relationships with, you can talk to on that level too. See what they're saying that's going on out here, and how is it changed? How is this negative situation changing the landscape of transporting goods to the locations that are, all locations, number one, but the locations, especially the ones that have been shut down already. So, any other questions or comments? Let's see here. Someone. Yeah, we do. Water is essential. Robert said we need water loads. So that means that we can, so as dispatchers, we can do our research and look on like areas like for water shippers for, let's say, McRae's Blue Book. McRae's Blue Book. That is a resource that we can look for product, service, company names, let's say water.
Well, I can tell you right now, Charles, that Nestle's and Zarker both are in Dallas. And also a lot of their loads go through C.H. Roberts.
Okay. So they broker their loads through C.H.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do have a Nestle's plant and a Ozarker plant here in Dallas.
Okay. So we can reach out to them directly, and because that's probably I could dare say that could be a number one. Water is probably close to the top as a resource that's needed out here. Of course, food, but water. Everyone's going to need water, right? So, so we need to reach out. I'm making note of that. Nestle. There's other water companies, Deer Park. What's the other one? Aqua. I'm trying to think of the name. So yeah.
You got Ozarker.
Yeah, Ozarker.
And you got another one outside of Little Rock. I can't remember the name of it though. It's been years since I've been in it.
Okay. So I'm gonna reach out to them, so we can do our homework on that. And go from there. So water's number one. Then other types of essential food items, and then also toiletries like toilet paper, paper towels, wipes, disinfectant, soap. So, and hopefully we get enough supplies to the areas to ride the wave. I'm let's say a month maybe. I'm anticipating this may last. Hopefully less than that, hopefully, and I pray that it's not more than that time frame. The White House is talking about some kind of two antidotes or two antivirus medications that they were testing right now, but there's no certain that those test results are positive enough that they can start administering. Because from what I gathered, they said that right now that there is no cure for the corona. That's what is that correct?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Okay. So, and then other people, like there's a gentleman that I know, he's an African, and he's I think he's in neurological. He works at, I'm in Norfolk, Virginia. He works at Norfolk General Hospital, downtown Norfolk on Brambleton. And he's saying that if you take the vaccines, it's likely, which sounds kind of bizarre, but you take the vaccine, it's likely to make the problem worse than it does better. So my question was, well, what can you do then? What's going on? So yeah, so Gigi said they're working on possible treatments and a vaccine. So using current FDA approved medicine. My thing is, I believe that the body naturally cures itself from viruses. Now, we just have to educate ourselves and understand how that's done, because prior to all this medication and stuff that's been going on in the 21st, 20th century, 19th century, how were we curing ourselves naturally, like with the herbs of the planet and plants and vegetables and things like that? How were we curing ourselves naturally prior to these vaccines coming along? Like Gigi said, herbal medicines and foods we eat, correct. So like the situation with the, remember the syphilis injections with the Tuskegee experiment, quote unquote. And other tests that were administered to certain groups of people, it's just, I think the body has the ability, the body is one of the most beautiful. The internal system, our internal system is one of the most complicated and yet one of the most beautiful things that we have going for us. We just have to stop treating it like a used toy or something that, we put things in our system and then later on we wonder why we have these illnesses and why we're overweight and why we are suffering from lung disease and liver disease and things like that. If we are able to understand that everything that goes in us has an effect on us, whether it's a good effect or a bad effect. So any other questions or comments? Robert said, where are the Clorox companies? We could look that up too. Look to Native American remedies, the plants and herbs they use, yarrow root, mint. Yes, I agree. Where are the Clorox companies? That's a good question.
I don't know where they make it at, Charles, but we have a major distribution center out in the Dallas market that ships out of here also.
Okay, Clorox companies?
Yeah, we have a distribution
center. DFW?
Coppell, Texas is one of those cities in the Metroplex, yes.
Okay. And then Mike says, Charles, I've been getting good rates from paper goods loads this week, $3 a mile minimum. Okay. So that's a good sign, because probably that's maybe one of the reasons why those rates might be good is because of this situation, that there's more of a need for it. Yeah, Gigi said hopefully the rest of the product companies will get on board, like Mike's paper goods. You talking about like paper towels, Mike, and toilet paper and things like that? Yeah. Because they figure it's more of a need. So the shippers will say, okay, we'll pay a little more to the carriers to get these out because we're going to make our money anyway once it gets to our customers, the stores, the Walmarts, the Sam's Club, the local grocery stores in whatever area you are in, Kroger's, AMP's, whatever. So the shipper understands it, the brokers are the ones that may be acting more greedy. They still want to not pay the carriers as much as they deserve. So if this is not an obvious sign that we need our truckers out here, because how else, this stuff is not going to magically appear in these grocery stores. It's not going to just poof and it shows up on the shelves. They have to be transported from these shippers to the receivers, or from the distribution centers to the customers, to the grocery stores. So who else is going to do that? The carriers. So they are needed more today than they will ever be needed, right? So in some cases, it's unfortunate that brokers don't realize that. In other cases, it's fortunate that they do. Some brokers, now I don't want to convict all brokers of this. So, and Mike, that's a good point. Everything comes on a truck. Yeah, everything that's in your house has been transported to some store in some way, shape, or form. You can go throughout your whole, from the clothes that you wear on your back, from the food that you eat, from the products that you have on your, like, you know, that you sit on, TVs that you watch. Everything in your house has been transported in some way or another on a truck. So that should. So if you look at it from that perspective, that should tell you something right there, how important the transportation industry is, you know. So any other comments? This coronavirus COVID-19 situation has, I mean, this is a good conversation because it's not really training today, I guess. It's more of a conversation, but we are still trying to look at it from our perspective as dispatchers and our carriers that we're dealing with. We still want to get them good loads and make sure that they're not being taken advantage of by brokers who may not feel that they should pay them what they deserve. So we still kept it on a dispatching level, but we also want to think about ourselves and our families as well, safety, and can consider that this is a pandemic, and, you know, keep our families and, you know, children and loved ones safe, secure. At the same time, we still want to try to provide a livelihood for our families as well by assisting in the transportation industry through our carriers in providing goods and services to the locations that need them, which is pretty much everywhere at this point, because, you know, we just took a little survey in different locations around the country, and most of the cabinets are there. So, but all right, guys, I'll let you spend the time with your families. I'll cut it short today, unless someone has a question or comment. I'm going to look into the brokers next week. By Wednesday, I'll have some words. Robert says, check out Center for Biocide Chemistries. Okay, I'm writing that down, Robert. Center for... And see, the beauty of having members on this network who also drive is that you guys pick up from shippers and you deliver to receivers. So those are customers, right? Those are the direct shippers. You can speak to them and see what's going on. So Gigi said, what is a good rate per mile we should try to get without getting told no way? I'll let someone else comment on that before I answer. I would say something decent, right? The drivers, the carriers just want to make a decent living, and now there's more of a demand for these products, so that should drive up the rate that the carrier should be paid to move those goods to meet that demand, right? So let's look at the three equipment types: dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. So what would be a good rate? And anyone can comment on this. So what would be a good rate for a dry van, flatbed, or reefer, irregardless of the distance that they're going for a load for that equipment type? Okay, 3 to 325. So is that a starting baseline, GG, across? Right, Mike says $3 a mile, $3 minimum for a dry van. Okay, so everybody seemed to Well, at least two said $3 to $3.25 minimum for a drive-in. What about a flatbed and a reefer? Reefers are different because remember with reefers, you may have more than one pick, you may have more than one drop. So now you have to factor in wait times, detention. So yeah, it also depends on the cargo. So, but what would be a good baseline starting point, irregardless of the commodity and irregardless of the distance for those three equipment types? Is it $3 a mile? Okay, Ruth said $2.25 or better. So she went down about 75 cents. $3. $3 is a good starting baseline. So does that apply across the board for all three equipment types? I got $4 a mile for a reefer for 1-and-1. Okay, wow, that's good, Mike. What do you think, Mr. Nelson?
Charles, I'll say ask for at least $3.50 and accept nothing less than $2.75.
Okay, ask for $3.50 and accept nothing less than $2.75.
Right. Always start out high. That money's
right.
there.
The art of negotiating, right?
The art of negotiating. Always start out high. That money's there. That broker has that money. Bottom line, he's going to take 20% off the top of every load that he gets from a shipper. And, of course, the shipper's putting it out there because they know that they have to move their product right now.
Correct. So the broker has the money. The broker just won't release what he needs to release to get. And if I was a broker, I would release as much money as I can to the carrier because what does that do for me? I'm moving my shipper, which is my customer. I'm the broker. I'm moving my customer's loads more frequently, which tells my customer, say, I'm gonna give you more loads. So now I'm thinking on a volume perspective. So the more loads I move, the more loads I get. So I'll give more money to the carrier because I'm gonna make that money up anyway through my volume, right? So
correct.
But if you're a broker who's greedy and you want to take 20%, 25, even 30, that load's gonna sit. Your shipper gonna say, hey man, why you ain't moving my load? I'm gonna have to get this to somebody else. You know, and now your greed just cost you that shipper. So that's just a broker's perspective, right? That's how a broker should think. Think more on volume instead of dollar signs. If you think more on volume, you'll make up your money because you're gonna have more loads. I'd rather move 100 loads at $2 a mile than to move 30 loads at $3. So brokers are a play the game mortgage bankers done when recession with the home. I'm not sure, Ms. Rose, if I'm understanding what you said there. But with the brokers should have a mindset of more of a volume perspective than dollar signs, the bottom line. Because their bottom line should be to satisfy their customer who is the direct shipper, right? Because the more you satisfy them, the more you have the potential to get all of that shipper's loads. Because right now, if you're a broker, you got a shipper, I'm sure that shipper is dealing with not just with you exclusively, they're dealing with other brokers. So now they're probably saying, okay, who do I give all these loads to? I'm going to base that off of who moves those loads efficiently for me without any claims, any accidents, and things like that. I'll give more volume to them. So Mike says, Charles, I had 3 TONUs in different states because the shipper had already sent the loads out. Okay, so TONUs, for those who don't know, it's a truck order not used. So if you book a load with a broker, like I had a situation where I booked a load with a broker and then I got a call from the broker when my driver was actually driving to the to the shipper to pick the load up and say, oh, by the way, the shipper canceled that load. He got somebody else. So it's like, well, what do you do in that situation? Well, you have clauses in carrier packets sometimes. That's why you got to read it. And you mentioned it, too, before that rate con is signed. You know, what's my TONU rate? What am I getting for you guys wasting my time with my carrier, you know, after we book a load and then get out there and the load is canceled? So, Mike, how much did you get in each case, each of those 3 cases from the TONUs? $250, $500, what did you get? Yeah, truck ordered, not used. Okay, let me write that. Let me put that in here. 250 reefer, 150 dry vans. Okay, that sounds about right, Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But I tell you another thing, Charles. When it comes to brokers, a lot of times people think that brokers own all of their loads. A lot of the smaller brokerage firms don't own their loads. They're brokering for shippers, but they don't have the assets to cover all the loads that they take out. A lot of brokers use factoring companies also. If you notice the big brokerage firms that have trucks, such as Warner, such as J.B. Hunt, if you look and go to their load boards, they have excess loads on their load boards. And the reason why they're shipping freight or taking freight and running it cheap is because, like you said, volume. You know, they're getting freight for less because they're getting more volume because they are going to the shipper and taking freight for less. But when it comes to the broker, like you said, if that broker would have the understanding that the more product that he moves at a higher rate, the more volume he's going to get from a shipper. So therefore, that's where he makes his biggest portion of his money, not gouging the carrier. But if that broker would say to himself, you know, if I've got 100 loads and I can get those 100 loads moved for 7% of what the shipper has given me this load for versus 20%, I'm going to move those loads a whole lot faster. Therefore, he's going to come back the next go round and he may give me 150, he may give me 200 shipments to move. And I'm still going to make my money because I'm not charging as much, but I'm moving more volume.
Yep. That should be, so whenever someone wants to be a broker and go through broker training, that should be pounded in their head. Like, think volume, don't think greed. Think volume.
Right.
You know. So starting out, you know, you'll be okay. So all right, guys. Very good. I enjoyed the comments. I like the dialogue today. Very good. I love the input. I love the back and forth. That's, you know, I just don't want to do all the talking. I'd rather have back and forth feedback, which reinforces the concept of learning, in my opinion. So, any other questions or comments? Let's see. Gigi says, blessings to all and be safe. Yes, I agree. Wash your hands. Yeah. We haven't reached a level of paranoia, and hopefully we won't. So, just prepare, that's all. All right, guys, I will see you on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate everyone tuning in today. We had a nice turnout today. Social distancing, take it serious, right? I think they said something about 10 or more, or, you know, but I'll cut that in half just to be even. I'll take what the government says and cut it in half. They said 10 or more, or 10 or less, you should stay, you know, within. I say 5, just to because if I'm close quarter with 10 people, the likelihood of me catching something is 10 times, right? I'd rather have a 5-time likelihood of catching something than a 10-time likelihood. So I'm going to take whatever the government says and cut it in half. So that's just me. So, but yeah, you guys do be safe out there, especially those who are going back. If they're essential employees, they have to go back to their place of business. It's unfortunate that hopefully the government will provide subsidies to employers as an incentive for employees to come to work. You know, extra monies and things like that, because like hazardous pay, I mean, you're taking a risk. The moment you leave your house, you're at risk, right? Mm-hmm. If you're coronavirus negative, if you're tested negative, the moment you leave your house, you're at risk, because this is an airborne virus. So you're going into an environment with your workplace, you don't know who has it. So you're taking a risk. So, All right, guys. Be safe. I enjoyed your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments. And I will see you guys. Salute on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern.